morning, everyone. Today is our District 21 Club Officer Training second session. In this session, we also include education session to talk more about social media marketing. And then the Club Officer Training is for VPPR and VPM. Before we start, we'd like to warmly welcome our District 21 District Director, Virginia Keys, to give us a warm introduction.
Thank you very much, Tracy, and welcome everyone. I know that people are going to start popping in like hotcakes very, very soon, but welcome to this hot summer sultry evening here on the West Coast for sure, and all across BC and possibly in other parts of the world, as we do have people popping in from 2 or 3 continents tonight, I'm quite sure. So it's great to have you here. And the reason for that is we all know the importance of our club members. And to me, it's also you, the officers, who are key to their success. It's you and your teamwork that's going to guide them through the year and support them. So it's great to see you turn out for this club officer training, whether you're brand new and need to know some of those really important how-tos, or whether you're seasoned and sometimes you wonder, oh my gosh, why do I have to do this training again? Well, we'll think about it a different way. You're a mentor. You have so much experience to be able to share and guide the others as we move along through the year. So thank you again, new and seasoned, for coming to training tonight. And thank you to our Program Quality Director, Carlos Miones, and our Education Chair, Tracy, and all her team tonight. I can see also the trainers popping in, and it's great to have Hanna here, our PR manager, to set you off with social marketing this evening. So on that note, I'm going to be participating too, because we all learn every time we come to this training. So on that note, back to you, Tracy.
Thank you, Virginia. To start off our education session, I'd like to warmly welcome our District Program Quality Director, Carlos Miones, to be the sergeant arm for this session. Welcome, Carlos.
Good evening, dear fellow Toastmasters and most distinguished club officers. My pleasure. Tonight, good evening. My name is Carlos Miones. I will be the sergeant at arms of this session. Welcome to the education session, Social Media Marketing. Before we get started, I'm going to go over a few housekeeping items to ensure this meeting runs smoothly. Please ensure your microphone is muted unless you're called upon to speak. To maximize the learning experience, we hope you can keep your camera on and be fully engaged with the questions. To ask a question or contribute to the discussion, please use raise your hand function. You can find it by clicking the participants icons and select raise hand. Please wait for the presenter to invite you to speak, at which time you will unmute yourself. When you're finished speaking, please mute your microphone and click lower hand again. At the end of the meeting, I will post the survey link in the chat box. Please provide your feedback to our presenter. Any material the presenter wishes to share with you will be emailed to you after this session. The session will be recorded and shared on the District 21 YouTube channel. If you do not want to have your image shown on the social media, you may turn off your camera. Thank you for your understanding. Who is our presenter tonight? Please help me and join me in welcoming our distinguished speaker for today, Hanna Thobani. Hanna is our Public Relations Manager for District 21. She's in charge of newsletters, social media, and communications for the entire district. She is a marketing manager in her career and has ample, wide experience in social media and branding. Today, she'll be speaking about social media for Toastmasters clubs. Please welcome our District 21 Public Relations Manager, Toastmaster Hanna Thobani.
Thank you very much, Carlos, for the warm welcome. I'm very excited to be here today. As he mentioned, we are talking about social media marketing, and we've got a little presentation set up to bring the ideas and the thought processes to the strategy of how we advertise our clubs at Toastmasters into a way that it can be beneficial for VPPRs and VP membership. Importantly, these roles are really important for the growth and the development of the club, and it really is what helps our clubs thrive. Before I get into the presentation, I do want to just take a little bit of a poll. Maybe you can raise your hand or your virtual hand. Does anyone here not have any experience with social media and you're a little bit new to this type of role? Perfect. Everyone's got a little bit of experience. Is anyone here like a social media master? Like you know all about social media, you've managed accounts, you kind of know what's going on. Okay, a couple, perfect. That does help us set the stage. What we're going to be talking about today is a little bit on the mindset behind social media and how we think about the strategy as we build it. So I'm going to share my screen. And present. Perfect. So if everyone can see that, social media strategy. We're going to be talking about how to engage our members and how to attract new members. So the things that we'll be going over today, we're going to be talking about setting and measuring goals for your clubs, defining audiences, choosing platforms, and that's going to be the main first part of the presentation. The second part of the presentation is crafting content, and this has to do with the different types of content, post frequencies, calendars, tailoring content and optimizing content with the goal, of course, of bringing in and engaging the members of our clubs. So the first thing that we want to talk about as social media experts, as the people who are leading the social media for our club, is setting goals. And anytime in the workplace or when managing clubs or when managing nonprofits, the first thing I always think about when I'm coming into a new account or a new set of platforms is, why are we on social media in the first place? What is our goal? For some people, it may be brand awareness to get the name out there. For some people, it might be to engage and to foster community. And for others, it might be lead generation and sales. Before we are even thinking about what we're posting and what we're trying to do, I encourage everyone to take a step back and think, for my club and for what I'm trying to accomplish, what is it that we want out of our clubs? And there are two main things that I usually think about as my goals for my pages when I am a VPPR. It is, for one, to engage the members that we have, to show recognition and appreciation, to keep that retention high when people are feeling valued, and to attract new members, people who perhaps haven't heard of Toastmasters before, where it's new to them. Maybe they've been thinking about it, but haven't gone forward with it. And we can bring that attention to them that we exist, we're here to help, and to encourage them to sign up. Measuring goals. So once your goals are set and you know, okay, this is what I want to do with my platforms, this is why I'm going forward with social media, we then need to think, how can I measure the goals? How do I know that I am successful? A couple of things that we keep in mind as social media people is, what are the metrics? And what a metric is a way of measuring something. So we can measure the page followers, we can measure post reach or impressions, basically means the number of eyeballs that are on our posts as they go. And we can measure engagement. This is likes, comments, and shares. This can be a good metric for how we are engaging our current club members. Do they see the posts that we have? Are they enjoying the content? Are they engaging with the things that we're putting out? And then the last part is new inquiries. If we're getting new people into our club, some ways that we can track this, and it can be challenging. We don't often know when we're getting a new inquiry from social media. Sometimes they will message our page directly, and that is easy. Yes, we know that they came from social media. One thing that I've also seen clubs do is, For every new person who joins the club, the VP of membership may ask the question, how did you hear about us? And what our clubs will do in those cases is just keep note. Did you hear about us on Facebook or Instagram, or did you see us on Google? What was it that brought you to the club? And what that really does is it teaches us or gives us an idea of, are the platforms and the tools that we're using successful? Are they working? Are people finding us through our channels? So once we know why it is we're doing it and we define what the goals are, the next thing that we need to think about is defining our audience. Who are we trying to reach? And in marketing, it's a very common piece of jargon to talk about a buyer persona. What a buyer persona basically is the target audience that you're trying to reach. For example, as a Toastmasters group, maybe we want to target established professionals or students who need to give presentations, or a shy person who's seeking confidence, or somebody who's seeking community. There are many different ways that we can think about the different types of people that we want to connect with. And the important part of building these personas is that it will impact the way that we build content and the way that we speak to the audience, and it will impact where these audience members are. So if we have, for example, an age range in mind or a profession in mind, we can choose our platforms based on our audience. And that brings us to choosing platforms. The main goal of when we're choosing platforms is to choose a platform where your audience is. And it can be overwhelming in this day and age, if I'm being honest, because there are so many platforms and so many different avenues for you to promote your club. It's important to realize we may not have the bandwidth to manage all of the accounts, and not all platforms may be relevant to the people who we're trying to reach. But if I give an example of, we're trying to target a young professional, we may choose platforms like LinkedIn, that is more inclined to have people who are business oriented and business focused, because it is a business platform. If we want to reach a young person in business, we may also try Instagram, because the audience demographic that we see on those types of platforms. Sometimes a little bit of research is needed, but figuring out the right platform mix can help us really connect with the audience that we want to attract. So that's the first part. The first part of it, it's simple. It's just, what is the mindset that we want to go into social media with? Why are we doing it? Who are we doing it for? And where are we doing it? That is the main key things that we need to think about before we even start crafting posts. Once we get into the content strategy, we begin to see how those things build into the way that we create content and the ideas that we generate as we start trying to practice making content. So the first thing I get asked all the time is, how often do I need to post? How much should I be online, and what is optimal? And you'll see a lot of people out there saying that you need to post 3 times a day on every single platform. And quite frankly, it can be overwhelming and not optimal, because you're putting out content that is less thought out. We have limited bandwidth, we have limited resources. The important part that I want to get across and how often to post is that consistency matters so much more than frequency. If we have 1 quality post a week or 1 quality post every 2 weeks, you're going to have a much bigger impact and a much more positive experience with the algorithm than if you're posting sporadically or randomly or low value content. So do craft ideas, add value in what you're posting, and make sure that you're posting at a similar cadence all of the time. And that will help the algorithm to push your content. So choose a cadence, whichever one works for you, and just stick with it. That leads me into building a content calendar, because now you have this cadence. You know that I'm going to, for example, be posting once a month. Then you can start, in marketing lingo is called batching. And batching just means creating a group of content that you have ready to post ahead of time. Some people prefer to create posts week by week. Some people prefer to batch. Basically, the main benefit is that you will be able to brainstorm a list of content ahead of time. You'll be able to target or tailor it to the specific types of content, the demographics of people you're trying to reach, and build a schedule that allows you to plan ahead a mix of content. And that is important as you're going through, as you're building your calendar, to have a mix that you can have one post that's this type for this week, a different type for next week. Maybe we have a time-sensitive post that we need to move things around, and it allows us to keep track and organize our schedules better. In terms of the types of content, the way that we can help facilitate this flexibility in our schedule and the flexibility in our content calendar is keeping in mind what type of content it is. And I've broken it down into two different styles. One is time sensitive and one is evergreen. And what this allows us to do is to shift things around as necessary. Time sensitive content would be something like an upcoming event, award recognition, upcoming deadline, a workshop, basically any type of content where you can't post it after the deadline. If you post it after the deadline, it doesn't make any sense. You can't advertise a workshop after the workshop is over. Therefore, it is time sensitive and we need to post it at a certain time. In contrast, evergreen content are things like tips and tricks, advice, benefits of Toastmasters, member stories, interviews. These can be anything that can be posted at any point in time. And the way that I like to organize these two things in my content schedule is to first, on my calendar, outline what are the time-sensitive things that I need to do that month. For example, we're upcoming to August right now. And in August, we might be planning an open house that we need to advertise. So I might schedule a post for that. We might have another deadline coming up for club officer training, and then we might put some evergreen content in there to fill in the gaps. If something time sensitive comes up that I need to post, I can move the evergreen content around and shift it back. Or if something gets removed that we no longer need to post, I can fill in those gaps with the batched content that I've created, any type of evergreen content. So we're going to bring it back to the original thing that we were talking about. Why are we posting on social media? And how we can use that to craft content based on the goals that we're trying to achieve. So for the first goal that we had talked about at the beginning, maybe we are trying to engage our current members. One thing that we can do is acknowledge level completions for paths. We can recognize achievements. For example, if we have an icebreaker speech that somebody did, it was their first speech, their first experience. Maybe they participated in a contest and got quite far. Maybe we're interviewing members to talk about their experience in Toastmasters. As we're engaging members, there are positive things that we can take from it. For example, it can help your club members feel more included, more appreciated, more supported, and gives that sense of recognition that we can support each other with online. The one piece of caution that I would give for crafting content for goals for current members is that not all people want to have their face online, or some people are comfortable with their photo and they don't want their achievements online. One thing that my club has employed is a little form that we will give to all of our members asking, are you okay with your photos? Are you okay with your accomplishments being put out there? If the answer is no, no problem at all. We respect that and we leave it be and we do not post it. But it's always important to check in with people before we post, just to make sure that they're on the same page, they know what's going out and that they're happy with that going out. The second thing that we can talk about for crafting content is attracting new members. That was the second goal that we could have. And how we attract new members is going to depend on the persona, the type of person we're trying to reach. Perhaps we're posting about leadership development. We can post segments on presentation skills, tips and tricks. Maybe we're advertising events or open houses that we can use to bring in new members. One of the things to keep in mind is that if we're always posting about one goal or the other, for example, we're always trying to engage our own members, we may miss the opportunity to attract new members. Posting content that can pique their interest in terms of hitting their pain points and their challenges and the things that they really would like to learn from Toastmasters gives us a little bit more flexibility to engage and bring that interest in. Tailoring content. This will be examples on how we can craft content for those personas that we were just talking about. So when creating content, everything that we are putting out should have the target audience in mind. So for example, if we're targeting a young professional, we might want to post about things like advancing your career with Toastmasters, learning to lead meetings, becoming a workplace leader, growing a successful career. It's very oriented to what this person might be looking for and interested in to build on the type of persona and the goals that that persona would have. So one thing that I will often do is I will put my target persona, I will list what their goals might be. I will list the challenges that they might have, and I'll start creating lists of things that they may want to have as a part of what I can speak to. And that not only allows me to create more evergreen content, but it allows me to give a specific message that would bring in a person who might be interested in that aspect of Toastmasters. Tools for making posts. This is also a very common thing that I speak to with people who are starting with post creation or with social media platforms, especially for the first time that you're making branded content. And there are a variety of tools out there to keep in mind. Graphic design tools, you have things like Canva, Photoshop, GIMP, Inkscape, and Microsoft Designer. Personally, I use Canva mostly because for someone who's not an expert in graphic design, it has a free version. It's very user-friendly. It's very easy to work into. There are other like Photoshop that have a much higher barrier to entry, or certain ones that might not be free, but it kind of works with what works best for you. So I do recommend, if you haven't already dabbled, try them out, see which one works best for you and what fits your style of creation. Copywriting tools can be a tool basically that helps you write posts, gives you ideas for posts that you can use. For example, give me 10 ideas for this type of persona. Copywriting tools can also help make sure that your posts come out with proper grammar. And there are many tools out there, many free tools like ChatGPT and Google Gemini, where you can put in prompts and workshop the different types of captions that you have. Try the different ones and see what works best for you. I've also included finding free images because it is a common misconception that we can go onto Google Images and type in anything and take the photos. In reality, most of the photos, or quite a lot of the photos out there, are copyrighted or are trademarked, and we can't take just anything off the internet. So I always put it out as a point of caution that we need to be using royalty-free images, and you can find those on platforms like Unsplash, Pexel, FreePic, and Canva has its own database. A lot of photos on these are going to be paid content as well, but each of those has a database of free photos that we can use. We can also use the Toastmasters brand portal, which has its own set of brand-approved photos that we can use to create content. And then my final note here is a note on AI. Because there are many AI platforms, there are tools that we can create AI photos, we can create AI generated content, copywriting, whatever it may be. The only thing that I might say to that is, yes, we can use AI for photos, but we need to make sure that it fits our brand and our brand guidelines. And for copywriting, we do need to check and verify to make sure that it is correct and accurate and in our brand voice. So speaking about the brand portal, on finding images, and I can paste another link into the chat as well in terms of finding the brand portal. But this is a really, really important thing, especially as we're posting online and using the Toastmasters name. Whenever we as VP PRs, or when we're VP membership, asking our VP of PR to publish something, we're publishing that content on behalf of Toastmasters International. We are representing the brand, and it's important that we're upholding the brand. As people, it's part of our responsibility to make sure that we are following the guidelines that are set out by the brand. And when you go into the brand resources, you'll find what colors, fonts, logos, slogans, the different size regulations, the guidelines that we need to follow whenever we're posting. And it goes beyond, we need to use red and blue and yellow. It's very specific shades, very specific fonts, very specific guidelines that we need to follow to make sure that we're really upholding the Toastmasters brand. A note on consistency as well is that when we're posting on all of these various content, it's true that there are different things that we need to keep in mind for different platforms. For example, when we're speaking on LinkedIn, we might want to use a tone of voice that's a little bit more professional. And if we're using a platform like Instagram, we might want to use a tone that's a little bit more light and playful. Maybe we use emojis in our text. But what's important is that whatever platform that you're on, for all of your platforms and for all of your other marketing things that you have, for example, if you have a website or a newsletter or whatever you're doing, it's important that all of those mediums are consistent, that the brand voice of the tone of your brand voice is consistent across all of the different platforms that you're using, that anybody can look at any of your posts and understand this is my club and this is from Toastmasters. So keeping those similar image stylings is important for that familiarity with your brand. The next part is optimizing content, because at this stage, we have brainstormed content, we've made it specific to a particular group of people, we understand why we're posting it, what type of content we're posting it. How do we make sure that we are continuing to create better and better posts, that we are uplifting our brand, that we are continuously getting better as we go? A lot of marketing comes down to trial and error. We try something, we see if it works, and if it doesn't, we try something else and we see if it works. We look out to the market for patterns and things that we can take, like ideas and concepts, to try to employ in our own strategy. Some of the things that we might do as social media experts is to try different things, like posting at different times of day. For example, if we're posting at noon every day, maybe people don't see it because they're at lunch. Maybe we try to post it in the evening. Maybe people aren't on social media on the evening, or your audience isn't. Maybe we try posting in the morning so they can see it throughout the day. And as we experiment with the different times of day or the different days of the week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we can start to see the patterns of when people are online most and start to post more in the times that are optimal. Are there tools for this? Yes, absolutely. They're usually paid tools though. Another thing that you can do is look through the posts that you have already posted to see which ones have gained the most traction and which ones tend not to have as much recognition. You may go through a couple of weeks of your content and you might see this style of post. For example, maybe posts on tips and tricks did really, really well. Then we can go in and make more posts that are similar to it. Or maybe we tried to do an advertisement and it didn't really work. So we can take a look at it, see what didn't work, try to adjust it, and then post something a little bit different. Another thing that we can do is try hashtags related to your content. And if for anyone who doesn't know, a hashtag is when you put the number sign in front of a word. It gives you a keyword that the algorithm can pull to basically say what your content is about. It can bring into other conversations of other people using those words. With hashtags, there are specific numbers of hashtags that can affect the algorithm if we're using 2 or 3 or 10 or 20. It's going to vary per platform. The important thing to recognize with hashtags is that we're using hashtags that are specific to our content and what we're trying to provide. For example, if we're doing tips and tricks, we might do hashtag presentation skills, hashtag tips and tricks, hashtag Toastmasters, and we'll build it out. We'll try different numbers of hashtags to see what works. Maybe a certain number is too many. Maybe we can use more hashtags. But it's basically making sure that we're trying different things and using our content effectively. And then another thing that we can do as we're optimizing content is to check out the other pages that are online. It's true that there are quite a lot of Toastmasters pages out there. There are some that have been running a long time, and there are some that are a little bit more new. One of the things that I do like to do as a club is to take a look at what the other clubs are doing, get ideas, spark ideas in terms of what the types of content they're posting is. Maybe they have a speaker series that is really interesting. Maybe they've been posting this particular series of member highlights. Maybe they've been having a lot of success with their promotions and their events. This can be a good way for us as social media experts to get ideas and to get a feeling for the marketplace and understand what people are mostly interested in. You can take a look at the likes and the comments and the engagement for those posts and see what's working well. And it can also show you a little bit about your own posts of if you post similar things, are you getting similar or are you getting different engagement compared to what's out in the market already? And with this as well, we can support and encourage our fellow club members who are also in the same boat that we are, trying to promote our club. I will put the asterisks that we are finding new ideas without stealing ideas. We want to give credit where credit is due. We're not looking at other clubs so we can take their content or take their posts and repost them as ours. It's just for sparking ideas and giving perspective on how we can look at our accounts differently. And then some final thoughts is that, and I'll say this because it is quite common, especially if you are a newer club or a newer account or you're starting on a new platform, is that seeing results does take time. I encourage everyone to stay patient and to stay consistent and to continuously be going over strategies to make sure that we are always trying to improve and do better. I do want to emphasize that even if we can get one new person to our club, that every new person that we're bringing in is someone's life that we are changing for the better, that we can help and support and bring into our clubs. And that's a very positive thing and a very admirable thing to be able to do. And it's a very exciting thing that we are able to bring people in, to make them aware of Toastmasters, to have this avenue to reach people who we wouldn't have been able to reach before. And that's a really, really fantastic thing. So don't forget to have fun, enjoy the posts, create content that your club is proud of and happy with. And with that, I will bring it to just the overall summary. Today, we have talked about setting and measuring goals, defining audiences. We talked about choosing platforms, and especially platforms that match the audiences and match the goals that we're trying to set. We've talked about crafting content, the types of content, how often and how much we're posting. We've talked about tailoring the content to the audiences and the personas that we have built, and then optimizing that content to make sure that we're always getting better and that we're always improving. With that, I will bring it to any questions that there may be that have come up. You are welcome to ask questions in the chat or to raise your hand, and I will stop sharing screen now.
There is something in the chat. Let me say, great presentation, Hannah. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I hope that was a little bit helpful for all of you, just because I know that, especially when you're starting in social media, or if you're experienced, being able to get your mindset and understand those types of things is important. So question, where can we find Toastmasters visuals? It's a great question. I'm going to post a link in chat for the Toastmasters brand portal. So there's one link that we can use, and then I will bring in the full brand portal as well, just as links so that you can save them. Brand portal, and this is on the Toastmasters website under resources. You can find both a list or a group of photos that have been approved and taken by Toastmasters, as well as any of the templates that they've posted in the past. They've got kind of a variety of different templates, ads, slides that they've used. Maybe they have some banners as well that we can use to create different types of posts. So here's the link for that one. And I would recommend saving those or sharing those with anyone in your club who might be needing to use or access social media, or who may be coming in as the VPPR in the future, just because being able to find those and have those easily accessible makes it a lot easier for us as social media managers and marketers to be able to put content online that is in the Toastmasters brand. And yes, I will also give a shout out. The evaluation form is in the chat now. I will give some time, a couple of minutes for you to fill that out. And if there are any questions, feel free to put them in chat or ask, and I will unmute.
Anna, I have a question I want to ask. Nowadays, for young member, they are more like Instagram. What kind of content would attract young professionals to join Toastmasters? What really the needs?
That's a great question. The content that we post will vary platform to platform. So the question was, for young professionals on Instagram, what kind of content would be the most interesting? And one of the things that I always think about with Instagram is that it is very picture focused. It is very graphic as a platform. In general, what the trend has been and where the trend has been going in the algorithm is that in general, video content tends to do better. It tends to be pushed in the algorithm more because, as we know, people will scroll through reels, and Instagram wants to push that. So generally, those short form video content on Instagram specifically tend to do a lot better. When we're posting photos, it tends to be the photos that are more graphical, more aesthetic, and less text driven. There are accounts where I'll see a lot of text on the photos. Usually that's not the best practice. It's to have just the key information on the photo itself, and then all of the extra information in the caption. So it's kind of that balance of the key information there. But again, it is, what is the main message? What are you trying to get across? And for those young professionals, it can be targeted towards the things that they're interested in, the pain points. It can be short form videos. One thing that I see often is short form videos, people saying, hey, are you having trouble with public speaking and you need to give a presentation? Well, here's what this group does. Or here is a problem that I face all the time with being shy. This is how I got over it. And bringing in those more personal experiences tends to be where the algorithm is going in general. There's a lot more focus on people being real, being less edited and chopped up, and more genuine, giving their own experiences and storytelling on the platform. And that's positive for us because as Toastmasters, we do want to be, I mean, we are here to practice public speaking, but being able to exemplify that and show our own skills will help us to build content. Carlos, did you have, I see you have your hand raised.
Oh, yes, I take advantage of a question. The tendency towards organizations like Toastmasters, I mean, what is the move of generations in this organization, in your opinion, where we're heading?
Sorry, can you repeat the question? Is it
Right.
in, where are the audiences?
Right, for Toastmasters in a near future, right?
That's a good question. And it's definitely hard to say how the audiences are changing over time. It is interesting to see how different members engage on different platforms. For example, we might see more mature members on Facebook. We may see more mature members approaching Toastmasters in general, which is why it's important for us to consider both mature populations who might be more established in their careers or might be looking for a sense of community, and balancing that with how we are speaking to and targeting the younger populations. It's definitely a shift in our thinking, because we definitely want to be getting people in who will be in Toastmasters for a long time and who will be able to build that impact and grow with us over time. So it's definitely an interesting dynamic, and it may be changing over time. But it's hard to say in general as we advertise on different platforms.
Thank you.
No, thank you for the question as well. And I see that the red light is there, so I will pass it back to you, to our education session leaders.
Thank you, Hanna. I will ask our program quality director to wrap up this session. And thank you for the trainer.
Absolutely. Raise your hands if you like the presentation. I want to see the show of hands. Something new? Absolutely. Well, this is what we are trying to promote, that we're an organization that's self-transformed, but it's because of the leaders we're having. Thank you very much, dear PR manager, Hanna, Thobani, and we're going to move forward. Thank you so very much once again. I now have to hand it back to our education training chair in charge of the whole session. Go ahead, Tracy. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Carlos, and thank you, Hanna. It's a wonderful session. It's very informative, very educational. I like that content. Thank you. Right now, I'm going to open the breakout rooms.